A talented artist, a dedicated flight attendant, and a beloved son, brother, and uncle, and a member of the LGBTQI community. Aubrey Boshoga lived a life full of passion and creativity, but in the early hours of the 29th of May 2021, his promising life was cut short in a brutal act of violence. This is the story of Aubrey Boshoga. Let's get into it. Aubrey Boshoga was born and raised in Gauteng province in South Africa. He was 48 years old at the time of his death in 2021. 2 weeks ago, I featured the story of the kidnapping of Jerry Boshoga, who has now been kidnapped for more than 4 months with a 10 million rand ransom. During that story, I mentioned that his brother had also been murdered brutally. And a few of you asked that I cover that story. So this is that story. From a very young age, Aubrey had a passion for the arts, which led him to pursue a Bachelor of Arts in Fine Arts at the then University of Durban Westville campus between 1994 and 1997. Of course, that is now today known as UKZN. His artistic work was deeply expressive, and it ranged from abstract paintings to intricate wire sculptures and photo prints. But his creativity actually extended beyond the canvas. He also creatively curated vintage suitcases for themed photo shoots. One of the photo shoots that he curated actually featured singer-songwriter Simphiwe Dana. Beyond Aubrey's artistic endeavors, he also had a fulfilling career as a flight attendant for the South African Airways, having been with the airline for 20 years. His colleagues remembered him as energetic, dedicated, and always ensuring that passengers felt safe and comfortable.
Manual serious exercise, Great Wall of China, on the 14th of February 2015, Aubrey Boshoga, check out. Bye-bye to the Great Wall of China as well as Beijing. I had the best time. Thank you.
His friends and family members described him as warm-hearted and a kind soul. There are so many comments of strangers that Aubrey had met and touched positively on Twitter, on his Instagram, on Facebook, under news videos that appear on YouTube, where individuals from all walks of life talk about how Aubrey touched their lives positively. He affectionately called many people Masakent and loved his friends loudly and celebrated them on social media. And of course, Masakent ended up becoming his nickname. Masakent is Afrikaans, meaning my mother's child. So he called everyone that. But despite these successes in Aubrey's personal and professional life, Aubrey faced challenges as an openly gay man in a country where, despite progressive legal protections, LGBTQI+ individuals still face discrimination and relentless violence. On the night of the 28th of May 2021, Aubrey went out with a group of men. According to his sister, Josephine Boshoga, Aubrey was the only LGBTQI member in the group of people that he had gone out with. The details of what actually transpired that night remain murky to this day, but what is clear is that Aubrey never made it home safe. In the early hours of the 29th of May, CCTV footage captured a white car pulling up outside Aubrey's home in Observatory in Johannesburg. Moments later, his lifeless body was dumped on the ground outside his gate. Aubrey had been stabbed 9 times, a brutal and targeted attack that left his family heartbroken and horrified.
You have left a big hole in my heart, Tabuti.
Aubrey Boshoga's family is in shock and horrified by the circumstances of his death. He was brutally stabbed 9 times on Saturday and his body dumped outside his home.
They killed him like a dog. They threw him right in the state when it's so cold.
The 49-year-old flight attendant was murdered after a night out with friends.
He had no enemies. I do suspect, as much as there's a lot of speculation, who says, that it can be, there is possibilities that it can be a hate crime, but I wouldn't say it at this point because I don't have any evidence.
Aubrey's murder also sent shockwaves through the LGBTQI plus community, with many suggesting that Aubrey had been murdered because of his sexual orientation. This story actually reminds me of the story of Lindowuhle Cele, who was also an aspiring artist in his own right and a member of the LGBTQI community, who was also brutally murdered for being gay. I also know of various lesbian women in South Africa who were sexually assaulted and murdered because some men had a problem with them choosing to be with other women. In fact, reports indicate that during the same year that Aubrey was murdered, at least 24 other LGBTQI plus individuals were murdered in suspected hate crimes. And of course, social media was flooded with tributes for Aubrey, as I mentioned earlier, with many remembering him as kind and creative and someone that has so much life to live and so much love to give. His final art piece, which was titled Room 352, became a powerful symbol of Aubrey's legacy. And many advocacy groups organized vigils in Aubrey's honor, and his death even reignited conversations about the dangers that queer individuals still face in South Africa. The Human Rights Watch even wrote a formal letter to the government of South Africa highlighting the increasing violence against LGBTQI plus members. Other efforts, and I'm mentioning all these different efforts to show you that Aubrey's life mattered to so many people, and so many different groups of people wanted to see justice served for his murder. Others included that in June of 2021, during Pride Month, activists used the hashtag Justice for Aubrey to demand accountability and action from authorities. But as time passed, despite all these efforts by different groups, the case began to fade from mainstream attention, leaving many fearing whether justice would be served. And although the investigation began with the discovery of Aubrey's body, progress has been very slow. Police examined the CCTV footage, and from that, there was no immediate identification of the vehicle or the individuals who dumped Aubrey's body outside his home. There have also been no arrests made since May 2021 until now in April 2025. There has been little to no movement in the case. One could suggest that the case is cold at this point. If you are enjoying my storytelling, please like this video to ensure that it reaches more people. In addition, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet for more true crime stories of South Africa. And the lack of progress in this case has also left his family heartbroken and reeling and hoping that one day justice will be served for Aubrey's murder. This is also, as you now are aware of, a family that has been through hell, a mother that is now dealing with the brutality and torture of her other son, and hoping that, unlike Aubrey, maybe the son will come back home alive and well. And that is it for the story of Aubrey Boshoga. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.